What is going on, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, happy Monday. So excited to be here with you this Monday morning over here, and wherever you are right now in the world, I'm glad we're here together. Even if you're listening to this later on to the day, and many of you are listening to this later on, I'm glad that you are here. We're going to be taking a look at the markets. Some of you might got a glimpse of what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to start with the most important here, and that's Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you're looking at Bitcoin here on the 3-day in current time. We're going to zoom in there and move over to the 8-hour where we hang out and take a deeper look. Starting here, though, looking at Bitcoin on the 3-day, we see that looks like we're possibly coming back up off of this correction. It's a 30% correction, something that we were looking for and expecting during this bull market phase. This over here is back in 2017, the peak of Bitcoin's bull market phase over here. You're looking at the 8-hour time frame with the true trend over here, and you can see it's just massive waves. 3 really big waves. 4, you could say, but you could see price going vertical. What was helpful is that we now know where we are on chain. We now know what's going on as far as paracycles, and we know that we're right over here, about 270 days after the last Bitcoin halving. If you didn't know that, then maybe you might be thinking that this could be the top on Bitcoin. Surely you jest, Jordan, but there are people who think that, listen, after we broke 20,000, I went bearish on Bitcoin. I think for the time being, we're probably not going to put in a top for Bitcoin for a year or so, even though this is some CI, this is whoever this guy is, right? And he's saying, but Bitcoin will be worth $400,000 one day. I mean, could you imagine not understanding where you were in the current cycle of Bitcoin during this bull market phase? I could see why the volatility might get you out of the trade. Could you imagine getting out of the trade over here at 20,000? Do you remember at 20,000 where we were and what we knew, what was happening, and how we said, all right, fully positioned and more, eyes on 40,000? That unfolded very quickly. Could you imagine this is where? Could you imagine this is where you thought the top of the bull market phase was going to be for a couple of years? Either your face is going to get burnt off, or you're going to realize, well, anyway, here we are. I bring this up because right now I want to show you what we're looking at right now on Bitcoin right now. It looks like we're in a massive wave, right? We're in a massive wave, but if you zoom out, this is just really getting started over here. So we got lots of thumbs down flying this morning. If anyone's here and is happy to be here this morning with me, I know I'm happy to be here with you as we get started here today, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe people, anyway, thank you. Smash that like button. Get me going this morning. Let's start this week off. In a beautiful, beautiful way. Yeah, we'll get into silver. Is silver as interesting as Bitcoin? Of course not. Of course not, right? Silver. Is silver going to be the new battle? Is silver going to be the new battlefield? Maybe. Have shots been fired with GameStop? Yes. Real damage is done. Melvin Capital lost 53%. Melvin Capital, by the way, is nothing more than what? A hedge fund run by Citadel. Over here, people want to know what's going on over here. You have Congress representatives asking questions. They're saying it's a blatant conflict of interest, an obvious monopolistic activity, calling for an immediate investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice into Robinhood and the hedge fund Citadel, because Citadel is the parent company of Melvin Capital, okay? Pretty big stuff. Some people think not the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, not Yellen. Yellen, by the way, who just earned $800,000 speaking to where? Citadel, right? A hedge fund, right? So anyway, of course she's not going to investigate, but that's the real thing is that really she's been called on to advise Biden on what's going on right now in the markets. She's been asked to please come help. Biden, the president, needs to understand what's going on right now in the markets. And she's like, you know what? I recuse myself. There'll never be another crisis in our lifetime, Janet Yellen. The U.S. Treasury Secretary says she will not advise the president on financial markets, I guess because they involve her friends. That's what's going on over here. And is this real over here, this volume that we're seeing into silver? Is that real right now? Of course it's real, right? It's real and it's big and it's just getting started over here. I don't know where you find yourself in this chart over here. Maybe it's on a YouTube, someone from YouTube. I don't know, maybe someone like me, physical buyers, right? At the head of the table over here. Yeah, is Wall Street Bets getting a little piece over there, as is Robinhood? Not anymore. Robinhood's getting X'd out of this, right? Reddit? Sure. But what about this? Stimulus investors. I know a lot of people following this channel 2020 as we saw the Fed expand their balance sheet by $4.1 trillion, who started getting into silver, probably building SLV positions, right? But getting into silver, lots of them. What about this one, Bitcoin maxis? They who understand markets, are they seeing what's going on in silver? It's real. I know I'm a part of it. I've been a part of it for a long time. Well over a decade I've owned silver, right? But the physical stuff. What about SLV? I own. You know what? SLV, is that the right stock? If you want to play silver, is that the right stock that you want to be invested in? Good question, important question. Just a heads up for everyone to do their own research, because I'm not here to tell you where to trade or anything like that. Only analyze the markets, look at price, and make sure that we stay on that right side of the trade. I'm not an investment advisor. Do not listen to me. Do your own research and never take a trade unless you understand what the risks are. That's how you invest. Either which way, just be aware that it is possible, right? Well, we all know SLV is, how backed it is by silver, the physical stuff. Is PSLV, right, physically silver bullion, a better ETF to get involved in? Do your own research, but do your own research, right? So where we are right, saying right a lot. The demand, right, over the weekend, this is ATMEX. I was a customer 12 years ago. I was a customer 10 years ago. I was a customer 8 years ago. I was a customer 6 years ago. They've been around forever. People wonder where you could buy physical silver. I don't know. Do your own research. This is a company that's been around for a long time. They're saying that, listen, they can't fill any orders right now until the markets open on Sunday because everyone's expecting a gap up on silver. And there was a big gap up on silver. Let's take a look at that over here really quick. Silver trading up 9%. I think it gapped up around 5 or 6% over here just yesterday. And look, 28.50, that's about where it was. Whether or not you were a buyer, 28.50, we're about $1 higher now and making new highs over here, taking out the August 2020 high over here. On our way now towards taking out the all-time high, right? When and how quickly that unfolds, I have no idea. And continue to have no idea. Does it appear to be accelerating? Yeah, it appears to be accelerating right now as we take out the 2020 high. So where are we headed next? Is it a straight line to 50 new all-time highs? Could speculators, could Reddit take it there? Reddit's just a small piece of the puzzle. There are many out there who have been all over the silver trade and will continue until the manipulation breaks. Is it possible the manipulation could break? I don't know. You better be holding these precious assets if it does. That was the name of the game 12 years ago. It's the name of the game today. But yeah, it does appear that people are catching on as fiat currencies are being devalued. And right over here at silver, this is one of the battlefronts of where it's going to play out, and it might be the next battlefront. So, that doesn't mean that you're a speculator and silver's going to $1,000, anytime soon. But is silver inevitably going to $1,000? Well, that's a different question you need to ask yourself and you need to understand. Either which way, if you were trading that silver, if you were taking that silver trade, you could be taking that on Bitcoin. FX choice, certain parts of the world, they're able to trade on FX choice in a Bitcoin denominated account and trade and take a big position in silver right now if they think that's where the volatility is. That's how a Bitcoin maximalist would play it out, right? But is that the best way to accumulate Bitcoin right now, or is it verse other altcoins, DeFi, right? DeFi, is that something like? Well, let's take a look at that really quick. Let's take a look at this really quick.
Yeah, look, technology is the great equalizer. And so for the last decade, basically the people in 08, 09, whether it was Occupy Wall Street and Zuccotti Park, or just Americans, frankly, around the country, they felt helpless. They felt like they couldn't do anything. But now with technology, that great equalizer, we've seen a reduction in the friction for information. You don't need a Bloomberg terminal to play in the public markets anymore. You can literally just have an internet connection. Communication tools. You don't have to go to the idea dinners. You can go on Reddit. You can go in a Telegram chat. You can go on Twitter. And then access to markets. I no longer need a traditional brokerage account. I can simply go on a Robinhood or some other peer or competitors of theirs. And so when the friction comes down for information, communication, and access, what you see is a level playing field. And so just like people will defend short sellers, and they will say short sellers are part of a healthy market, they will make the claim that we need short sellers in order to have that efficient market, to be a check on the bulls and on the longs. Well, we need retail investors to be a check on Wall Street. And if we go back in history, retail was right about Bitcoin, retail was right about Tesla, retail was right about GameStop. And so maybe we should start to think that retail isn't as stupid as everyone on Wall Street thinks they are. They've actually been more right than people give them credit for.
Did you hear what he said? Obviously, people retail is not as stupid as you make them out to be, because they're taking it to you and kicking you in the teeth. Yeah, but watch what else. Let's keep going over here.
And so I think whether it's Wall Street bets, it's people on Twitter, or it's just a random person that has an internet connection and wants to trade stocks, open up the markets, allow the free market to reign. And if the hedge funds are scared of competing against retail in the free market, that tells you everything you need to know. Just open the markets and let them compete.
Right, and it is the retail.
So crucially important what Anthony has been saying throughout these past, for the past week or so. And what he's saying is, listen, everyone knows what's going on over your sheet. People are taking their sides. Obviously, here's the media saying that, look, who are the good guys in the GameStop story? And they're saying that they believe it's the hedge funds and the short sellers. So trust in media is at an all-time high right now because of opinions like this. But that's what it is, right? And Anthony's saying, look, right now, retail is beating you in every way, and you're changing the rules. You're changing your rules. And is that going to happen again in silver? Like, people are asking, look, it doesn't matter if people pile into silver right now, right? Because they're just going to change the rules. And that's the thing. If you're holding SLV and they change the rules, you're not going to be holding silver. That's why there are, like, the precious metal or the sound however you want to label them, the people that understand money who hold physical gold and silver, right? Wherever they hold it, best to hold it, by the way, out of country in a vault, right? Either which way. Here we go. So don't look for the quick and easy kill shot, though. GameStop was just a small that was shots fired. That was live shots fired, right? They were real casualties, and it came from the hedge fund side. It came from the people who were rigging the game. They changed the rules. What's next? Is silver next? Well, maybe, but it's just another battlefront. The real battle is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is the war. Bitcoin is what's going to change everything over here as far as the financial system and the playing field, as well as DeFi, right? DeFi projects. I mean, Bitcoin, the most decentralized cryptocurrency of them all. Nevertheless, things being built on top of Ethereum, including lots of DeFi projects. Are they the things that you want to be looking instead of silver? Or not that you should not be looking to trade silver over here or anything like that, but understand and know what you believe to be the best. Or is it something like we believe Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin during this bull market phase, or you're looking to get involved in maybe some DeFi project, including over here we got Aave or DOT or Uni, whatever you might think might be the leaders, or a basket of them to accumulate more Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, people are looking to accumulate more Bitcoin over here. Is the dollar going to affect all of this? Is the dollar going to affect this? We see the dollar breaking out over here from this trend line. We called over here, right? Called over here as the turn in the dollar. We see the breakout, the retest. It looks like we're resuming off right over here on the dollar now, right? Where does that have us coming up towards that 1920, 1950, that area of resistance over here? Next target over there. We have to look, or I have to look, where the channel is over here. Let me go over here to the DXY and pull up where here we go. Boom. So that's coming in right now. The channel's coming in around 91.50, right? Which is 92.50 is the high of the resistance. We have that move starting in the channel over there. That channel also, by the way, then is the 19, right down a little lower. That's where I have mine. That would be this little bit of resistance. Again, whatever. We'll see what happens. That's what we're tracking. Do I think a rising dollar? Do I think a rising dollar will sink Bitcoin? Absolutely not. Bitcoin, as we're seeing today over here, the dollar bid over here, but we're seeing Bitcoin stronger than the dollar today. And you're even seeing silver significantly stronger than the dollar today with that strong dollar. So yeah, that's something that we were looking forward to seeing on Bitcoin that I expected to be having on silver. I've showed out other periods like January and February of 2020 where gold has outperformed dollar. Right, silver was outperforming the dollar in that particular time as well. So is that more something to do with what's going on in stocks? No, got strong dollar. Stocks are up today. All right, let's take a look over here. Let me get off this over here and go back really quick. Let me take a look over here at the S&P 500. You know, towards the bottom of the range over there, back up towards the middle, stocks continue to look unattractive, right? They just continue to look unattractive, and rightfully so. They're really not doing anything right now. So what else? Where does that leave us? Gold is lagging silver. I've been looking and talking about that during this coming year that silver would outperform gold and strongly. Let's take a look at the gold to silver ratio. And now we can see it breaking down that support. That's a big deal over there, right? That's a big deal. You could see silver making the breakout over here. And clearly you could see silver making the breakout. So that's beautiful. Let me just go ahead and keep up over here. Put this red. So another ratio that I think that is going to continue to break down over here is Bitcoin versus gold. And it's not as if I'm anti-gold. I'm as much let's say precious metal minded, gold and silver, right? Gold and silver. More of a gold guy for sure. I just see this. I've been talking about silver could be aside from Bitcoin, one of the assets that appreciates the most. Now, I'm not talking about like Blockbuster Video or some obscure stock that for whatever reason, because some illiquid stock, right? Some illiquid stock all of a sudden has like AMC type returns. It could, yeah, you could do that and you could get lucky, but it's not about luck, right? It's about knowing where to be at the right time, being the most risk adverse. Bitcoin is almost $1 trillion market, by the way, almost $1 trillion market. But if you think that it's only going to be $1 trillion market, well, even if you only thought it was going to be $1 trillion market, Bitcoin versus gold. I'm not picking on gold over here, but at this point and what's going on over here, look, Raul Pal, if you saw this is like a paywall. If you saw the danger of a perfect storm, what he's talking about, what he believes are the risks right now seeing going on in the economy. I've watched about a half of it or a little bit more than half of it. And it's the same thing that we've been hearing ever since the crisis that, insolvency is next and it's going to happen and it's going to happen. Yep. So, we'll see what it happens, right? We'll see what it happens. Let's see where else we are. So anyway, I think we're getting close. I think we're really getting close for the next breakdown over here against gold on Bitcoin. You could see it playing out clearly right now on the gold to silver over here, and that was the next breakdown over there. And it's not to pick on gold. I value gold, but much more in a crisis. When that next crisis comes, and it will come one day, right? It will come one day, but one day, let's say. Is it going to happen this week? I don't know. People are worried that this week is going to be a meltdown. We're going to have a liquidity crisis. Would that mean a really strong dollar? We're seeing signs of dollar strengthening over here technically. That's real, right? That's real. But is that something that's going to derail the Bitcoin trade or derail the markets over here right now? Well, stocks are up today. They're not really showing signs of that. They feel pretty, pretty good with that strong dollar. Precious metals definitely do. And Bitcoin, again, is just like struggling to come out of this first pullback over here. It could last up to, 30 to 60 days was the average in the last cycle. We're about 30 days in right now. It looks like we're breaking outside of this wedge over here. Looks like we're breaking outside of that wedge. I've moved this trend line, by the way. Let me go ahead and show you the trend line that I'm tracking originally because it's very important. I'm going to keep it over here, and it's when I change computers and things like that, Things that I have notated are not there on the other one, and it's just, sorry about that. Let me come in over here. By the way, 649 likes. How many people are joining us here this morning over here? 2,000 people. Everyone, happy Monday. Glad you're here. Glad to be going over this with you. Yeah, there's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of urgency. Better to understand what's going on. And it's really fun to understand what's going on as we look at things like what Michael Saylor is doing this week with corporations, right? They're setting up to buy an enormous amount of Bitcoin, or should I say an enormous amount of fiat, of dollars, is about to be sent into Bitcoin. So look at who's presenting at the conference, by the way. And the first, why Bitcoin, right? And why the corporate strategies being given by Michael himself. That's going to be killer, obviously. Gene is going to be there as well. This is February 3rd. This is Wednesday. There's going to be 4 people I know inside Conquering the Markets who are present at this. It's going to be enormous, right? So over here you have the CFO making the Bitcoin corporate playbook presentation to everyone. And when I say everyone, these are all public companies. If Tesla is going to be there, and if Elon is going to announce that Tesla has taken a huge billion-dollar Bitcoin position, that would just be massively explosive. Nothing else to say. That would be massively. What type of candle we would see on Bitcoin to the upside? It would be massive, right? Anyway, let me just move over to price really quick, and then I'm going to go back to talking about what Michael's doing over there. I already did that with you earlier. I apologize. Kathy, though, I do want to share this with you. She's saying what happens. First of all, she's saying, I wonder what the SEC is going to think of Michael Saylor's Bitcoin position. She doesn't know. Interesting. Why? Well, they're an investment. They're a tech company, but their business model is to invest in Bitcoin. It's not really clear. Is the SEC going to say anything about that? Or if enough corporations start doing it, then is the SEC going to be looking at all of them, or is it just going to be accepted? It looks like a bunch of corporations are going to be making a big move. Kathy explains the risks, but also talks about what would happen to the price of Bitcoin if a fraction of those S&P companies step in.
Corporations, we didn't expect this. We expected institutional interest, but we didn't expect corporations to substitute Bitcoin for cash. MicroStrategy was the first. All of its cash is now in Bitcoin. And in fact, it did an offering so that it could buy more Bitcoin. It is a technology company. I'm a little suspicious. I don't know what the SEC is going to do with this, because this is not its base business. This is its cash. Square has put 5% of its assets into Bitcoin, and we're seeing more mature companies like PayPal enabling the buying and selling of Bitcoin.
Did you see her face when she said that Square did 5%? And she was like, that's nothing.
On its platform, as Cash App does as well. Well, if companies in the S&P 500 were to put 1% of their cash into Bitcoin, that would increase into Bitcoin cash into were to put 1% of their.
All right, 1%. She's saying if S&P companies were to put 1%
cash into Bitcoin, that would increase the price of Bitcoin by $40,000. Today, it's close to $30,000. So that's more than a double right there. If we saw 10%, of course, that would add 400,000. And I just told you, MicroStrategy has put all of its cash in.
So there we go. There we go. Kathy says, by the way, if S&P companies put 1%, then at that point you would see a $40,000 rise in the price of Bitcoin, taking us into what we perceived to be the next stop on Bitcoin, somewhere around $70,000, 150% off of the low over here. Could we go much higher than that? Of course. Of course, we could blow past that resistance at 70,000. 40,000 was the one that held on the way up. Whether or not it was going to be, I had no idea in advance, right? It's impossible to know or time it like that. I prefer stepping back, looking at the bigger picture over here, and then that's how I time the cycle of Bitcoin. As we get towards the top in the exit zone over here, we'll be looking at where we're looking to exit ourselves. GameStop. We need to take a look at GameStop, of course. I haven't checked the price all weekend. I obviously can't. I haven't checked the price all weekend, right? Love the public markets. Public markets, how funny is that? Public markets, as long as you're not winning. Really important signal over there where Anthony talks about the playing field will be changed. When we talk about the playing field being changed, it's not only Bitcoin, right? But you're seeing corporations getting out of dollars now and looking to go into Bitcoin. Kathy's saying if it's 10%, that takes Bitcoin over $100,000 a coin. However, how much have corporations put in the past? It ranges. Square put 5%. Have they accumulated more? We don't know. MicroStrategy went all in, right? What does Elon and Tesla do? Do they take a position? And how big of a position if they do? I don't think it'll be a square 5% position if Tesla takes a position into Bitcoin. I think it'll be massive and shocking. And it'll send Tesla, like what? Continue to fly in 2021. And we'll see if that's what happens or not. Either which way, there are lots of corporations going ahead. I don't think they're looking at 1 or 10%. I think they're looking at higher, as much money as they could put into Bitcoin. I think they will be. And that's signal over there. Signal over there. What else? I think there was something else that I wanted to look at with you over here. Yeah, very, very, very crucially important over here. Right? This is, listen, I will never reach out to you in a comment, and the spammers are ruthless. The spammers are ruthless. I will never reach out to you through an email and ask you, first of all, I'll never ask you to hit the like button. I will always ask you to smash the like button, obviously, right? And I will never tell you all the best, but I will never reach out to you from a Gmail address either. They read your emails, either which way. Protonmail.com out of Switzerland. Highly recommend it. Good one. I will never reach out to you. I have to keep reminding people just in case someone is not really up to speed on their own internet security and are falling for things like Nigerian princes asking for help. Just send me money. GameStop continues over here, looking pretty good. It's holding up pretty well. Listen, I have no idea what's going to happen. The markets have been open here for 3 minutes. Is GameStop trading right now? I can't even tell. Markets are up a little bit. Do I think that people are giving up over here on GameStop? Do I think that there will be retail traders taking profits today, maybe trying to move those profits into silver or Bitcoin? Maybe. Or there's people fighting this battle, and it's very emotional to them. It's very real to them. It is their reality, and they're fighting a war. Do I think that they're going to hold and push? Do I think that, listen, I don't know when redemptions are up. I don't know when the short sellers, what type of interest they're paying, what type of, I don't know the situation because it's not something that I get involved in, rigged markets. I try to stay away from the public markets. GameStop is one reason. If you're in the trade, is it going to keep going or are you going to see that crash? I think Brent Johnson was calling for the crash over there, warning retail traders that people are going to get hurt. Seems that he's always looking to pick a bottom, call a top. Is this the place to call the top on GameStop? And we'll see. I don't know, but that is risky. That's speculation. Reminiscent of a stock operator. People often ask me if there are any trading books that I recommend. And Remnants of a Stock Operator, The Story of Jesse Livermore, is one of the best books I've ever read. Highly recommend it. And also the New Market Wizard books, which is Interview of All Legends on Wall Street. It really, really was influential. I've listened to it and read it multiple times. on both formats. And not just the first book, the first and second book, The New Market Wizards at All. And it's not really, it doesn't tell you anything about trading. It kind of tells you more about the character of traders and the characteristics of things they share, their journey, their struggles, almost every single one of them blowing out their first account. Listen, where are we? Sorry, I got off on that tangent over here. We are 5 minutes since the U.S. equity markets have opened up. Equities over here are a little bit bid over here into resistance, though. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that over here. Let me go ahead and just hit auto on this chart. I'm on the 3-day. We looked at the 3-day already of the S&P 500. We know it came down into that support. And here on a lower level, though, you can see this is pretty dangerous over here as price breaking through that middle of that channel over here, that trend line, though. And now resuming off into support, coming back into that resistance. If they reject it over there, that will be nice to watch what happens on the S&P on the downside. Some people legitimately are calling for a top in the markets, or for a big market crash, right? Talking about yields rising in the near term, but after that getting crushed. We'll see if that's what transpires or not. But right now, the markets seem pretty, let's say, shaking everything off over here. Even with that strong dollar, equities outperforming. Gold now up. Is that gold? That's gold Bitcoin. I'm sorry about that. Gold up about 1%. So still, would you say gold's interesting right now? I would not. I would say gold is anything but interesting right now. If we do enter some type of event that would be, let's say, a liquidity crisis near term, maybe like we saw back in March. At that point, what would happen with gold? Would gold trade down over here with a crushingly strong dollar, as it did in the last? Here's the last one over here, right? There it is, the March low. And then would the Fed step in? Is gold a good long-term trade, especially coming? Yes, absolutely. It's just at this particular time, we expect other assets, such as silver, have been very consistent about that, outperforming gold. And then same thing with Bitcoin. But gold, yeah. I mean, long-term, it's gold. So where else could we look at over here to have a better focus and or understanding of what we're looking at? I really don't want to get into FX today. I could just glance at FX and I could see that, it's Monday, first of all. Everything is unchanged. I'd rather see what happens overnight, tomorrow morning, take a stronger look at them. Nothing is going on that even brings my attention to what's going, into the currencies. There's nothing to focus in on over there. Gene, I can't wait to see what happens on Wednesday, to hear all about it. I'm sure you're going to be completely stoked. That's like being at an Apple event when Steve Jobs was presenting, introducing, the iPod. Can you imagine the energy in that room, him getting a computer to speak? I mean, this is what it's like next week with Michael Saylor meeting, talking about Bitcoin, making the bullish case for Bitcoin. I can't wait to see some footage of that. It's just going to be spectacular. Thank you, Stefano, and thank you for all your hard work, because these spammers are absolutely ruthless, trying to take advantage of people. I'm so appreciative. The first thing I did waking up this morning was start pruning or whack-a-mole on the YouTube channel, the comments of people impersonating myself. And, thank you for all the help, for sure. What else? This is the dollar just from a 3-day perspective over here. I'm looking at first my chart over here, coming into that big channel over here. Let me show you on a weekly chart, just to give you, or 15-day chart maybe. Here's that big channel over here. I did a video, the first video on a Monday of this new year on the DXY, explaining that breakdown of the channel, saying as we came into that area of support over here that we could bounce as high as this channel, right? And you could see it could even go a little higher. Where's that big resistance? Brad's chart over here gives a much clearer view, right? Between that 92.13 and 92.56 area over here. The zone of resistance over there is pretty strong. That might be what we're targeting right now as we've broken out of this channel. Am I calling for, like, all of a sudden the dollar milkshake to play out And is that what we're looking at next? Are we setting up for a crash in the markets and the dollar milkshake over here to play out? I don't know. It doesn't seem like that. And when I say it doesn't seem like that, this is really not doing much yet or right now. Very, very controlled, slow up drift over here, but breaking a major technical area over here. And now may have a nice move over into that area of resistance. So I get sidetracked. I apologize. Bitcoin. Let me come back and look over Bitcoin. This is also on a 15-day time frame over here. GameStop, right? And we're going to compare GameStop and Bitcoin right now. And just to ingrain into you where you want to, that's 15-day chart of GameStop. Just a huge vertical blow off top over here. Maybe, probably, could it go to 1,000? It could go wherever. It depends on whether or not they're allowed to play by the rules or not, and how the rules change. You just don't know how they're going to change the rules. What about over here on Bitcoin, right? Well, it looks a lot healthier. We're not looking at a huge spike up like we're seeing over here on GameStop over the past, what is it, 2 15-day candles over the past 30 days or 20 trading sessions. On Bitcoin, you're seeing a massive wave developing over here on the 15-day chart. It looks much, much healthier, right? Where do you want to be invested and why? You have to have patience. The hardest thing to do right now is hold Bitcoin during the bull market phase. You have to understand how much of a position you want, right? You have to understand why. You have to understand for yourself. There's no way that you're going to take a position unless you understand it. That's being presented over here to corporations. It's being presented over here. I'm just sharing what I know about the markets with you. I hope it's helpful. It takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of time to develop. Even under the guidance of myself here with you, there's a good solid, and there's a big percentage of the community who actually listens, works hard, shows up every day, and they have definitely seen all the fruits, right? And continue to do so. But there are people who are just getting started in the market at all times. There are people risking enormous amounts of money into these stocks like AMC right now. There's someone right now taking a super leveraged silver position. Maybe that's the right thing to do at this particular time, is take I'm not telling you to take a leveraged position. And I never will tell you to invest in anything. Only present what I'm looking at and try to make sense of it myself. And as I'm making sense of it myself and sharing with you, I hope that helps. I hope that's just one more focal point for you to help you decide the type of investments you want to make yourself. So is silver right now, a leveraged position of silver, something to think about right now? Where do you foresee silver going? Does it look like, even though, this was our game case over here, our game case, this was our base case over here, that silver will take out the 2020 high, and then after it does, its next target will be taking out the $50 target. I put a price, even though I don't want to put a price on it, right, that $100 could happen in 2021 on silver, right? I said I could place what I believe to be a reasonable price target on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is math. It's a lot. It's coded. It's code, right? You can't do that. I can't do that on silver. At least I can't do that on any other asset, including Ethereum, including any other altcoin. And again, we talk about, and there's a beautiful video on this channel's Bitcoin playlist that talks about when to exit Ethereum and altcoins during this bull market phase. The best advice you will ever get. And it's free. It's free for everyone, right? I just share with you what I believe to be the most valuable insights in the markets. And that's what we do here. So if you're new, by the way, and you haven't yet, first smash that like button, and then go ahead and do subscribe to this channel. What about strawberry jam? Well, this is true. Is Elon going to be a showman? I don't listen. I don't know. I don't think if Tesla doesn't buy Bitcoin, here and announce it, it doesn't affect Bitcoin. No one or anything affects Bitcoin like that, right? So Elon, if Elon needs, as he says, he sees looking back, it was inevitable that, of course, right? That's what it appears to me. That's what it appears to everybody else. Whether or not Elon does or doesn't, it doesn't matter for Bitcoin, right? We're not going to see Bitcoin crash down to 20,000, in my opinion. What we are going to see, and it looks like it's a matter, is it going to be February, right here, right now? Is it going to be, within the next 30 days that we break out over here to new all-time highs, or sooner? That's the question that you should be asking yourself. Or that's the question, or that's what you should be seeing. That's what I see. So, anyway, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm not getting off over here because we've only been on 45 minutes. We're just getting started over here. No rush whatsoever. Nevertheless, feeling pretty good about everyone having just crazy headlines going on everywhere. Crazy headlines. People are speculating like crazy. Mark Cuban making himself heard, joining the conversation over here, talking about if he were a short seller, how he would make money, right? Is that what we're celebrating? Companies and hedge funds looking to take down companies, right? Either which way, a market is a market, and the short sellers should be allowed to sell short any market they want. But the rules do not change on both sides. But the rules cannot change on both sides. Oh, by the way, so going back over here to Bitcoin, this was my original trend line over here. Something close to this. It was probably like exactly like that. Okay? This was the trend line that I've been following over here. We broke out of it. Is that the trend line? I would have to go back and even watch a video myself, pull it up to make sure. I'm lowering the trend line over here just to show what the market's paying attention to, right? I'm lowering the trend line over here. This was not the trend line I was working off of. And now I just want that trend line over here with the original one, so you could see that price is consolidating between the two. Obviously, a breakout, a resumption over here is going to send the next leg up on Bitcoin, getting above 35,000. 33, 750 Bitcoin, it feels good, right? Everyone is pretty comfortable with that becoming normal. Everyone comfortable in their position. People slowly starting to say, all right, I'm ready to take a position now. Right? And then we're watching over here on the technicals break above that. Could we still be looking at something lower on Bitcoin? Of course. Of course we can. Always be ready for that 30% drawdown on Bitcoin. It's happened. We had so far a 31.5% pullback. Were you a buyer? A lot of people over here on this 28% pull, they bought this one. And was that a good buy over here? Bitcoin pulling back 25% over here. Pulling back 28% over here. Yeah. Anyone who bought in this area over here is sitting on higher Bitcoin, feeling comfortable about their position. Let's see whether or not this is an explosive week. I don't think that the markets are crashing this week. I think it's going to be an explosive week over here. And Bitcoin right now on the verge of breaking out. And it looks good. It looks good. 1,000 likes in here today. You have no idea how much it helps this channel. And look, the whole idea is obviously it's definitely quality over quantity. The whole idea is not to. Someone asked me, Brad, who built the website for us after taking the course and was like, oh my goodness, and built the website. Just thank you for that. Brad, who's now showing us the work on the DXY that we referred to over here on the channels over here, and he's like, "Look, you could use YouTube ads to grow the channel. I've experienced. I could help you out." And yeah, probably, but that's not my interest. I love how this is all organic. I love how this is so real. That's my intent. But nevertheless, when you hit the like button, it really, really does help me reach other people. Right? Not trying to buy other people or just like make this bit, but it helps. It's made this community what it is. You signaling to other people that you enjoy spending time here. You're learning a lot, and it's really helping you. So thank you for that. 1,084 likes, half the people in here, and that's really huge. People say or tell me that just copying the share button is a huge positive signal. So that's maybe something you also want to do. People always ask, I wish I could like twice. Well, just go ahead and like, and then, copy the share button. You don't even have to paste it anywhere. Litecoin, good, bad, right? What it looks like DeFi. Let's take a look over the 7-day over here. How do you know you're still early in the cycle on Bitcoin, right? We're not even close to a sell zone. So many different indicators, so many different models help us understand exactly where we are in this cycle to understand and feel good about it. Is this the time? Is this the time right now to get into a really good Bitcoin position from a really good risk to reward, breaking out above 35,000? It looks like it to me. See what happens. What else? There were other things that I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to go over to CoinMarketCap. And I wanted to see if DeFi and how much DeFi projects are outperforming the rest of the market. As we're going to talk about what's the best thing to do here right now. Is it Bitcoin? Bitcoin lightly leveraged, right? Silver versus Bitcoin. Or is it, is it something like Uni or DOT or Aave versus Bitcoin? Even knowing that or believing that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin. Look at that nice consolidation now. This looks really solid over here. Ethereum versus the dollar, but Ethereum versus Bitcoin has also been running, right? I expect Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin throughout this bull market phase, as we've seen in the last cycle. However, is that the trade that I want to be involved in, right? Over here, there's Ethereum slightly outperforming. There it is, the top over here. Ethereum during the bull market outperforming Bitcoin. I talk about the top. The top comes, about a week after the Bitcoin peak. So when we're exiting Bitcoin, that's the time you're looking to exit your alts. And whether or not it's Ethereum or whether it's not, some of these other projects right now, the DeFi projects really are leading the way. Let's take a look. Polkadot over the last 7 days. This is versus US dollar. I can't really look at this. It doesn't really offer me anything that I want to see. Wow, Uniswap up 60% versus the dollar. I want to see versus Bitcoin. Aave up 14% versus the dollar. And what about Doge, right? Was this a battle? No. This was like training, right? This was like training. Was it Elon Musk who was it the world's richest man who tweeted out something about Dogecoin? I'm not really sure. I think it was. That's background noise. But look what happened over there. Like, the troops listened. They went in over there. That thing pumped up like crazy, right? Great. So, and then GameStop. That was like a real battle. There was real money behind that. That was a battle. That wasn't an easy one. Bitcoin, the war right now. Uniswap over here up 60. Binance Coin up 13%. Seeing various altcoins outperforming Bitcoin, but not all together and all in unison. So it's kind of like throwing darts, and it's a little bit random. Also seeing even Polkadot down 12%. That's kind of. Let's see what that means. That's not a big drawdown over there. Let's see what that was from the top. 30% drawdown. On alts, you could definitely see bigger drawdowns. And what happens if Bitcoin rips over here? If Tesla does announce, this is your risk in the market right now on altcoins. Altcoins versus Bitcoin, at least. I think right now, Bitcoin looks like Bitcoin's getting ready to make its next move. And that's not the time that you want to be invested in altcoins versus Bitcoin, right? You want to be invested in Bitcoin, especially when Bitcoin is doing the hard work. It looks like it could be triggered by Elon Musk. That could just be the next trigger. Bitcoin doesn't need Elon Musk, and whether he comes or not, there's other people coming for the Bitcoin, right? And you can see right now people are beginning to understand money more and more as a whole new world, silver shortage, as a whole new world realizes, wait, scarce assets are actually where we could hurt them. You're talking about people over here are going to be showing, just taking delivery of one contract off the COMEX, right? Someone is saying over here, Mike Maloney covering the Galactic Trader, Silver Squeeze, Galactic_Trader, talking about how they're going to, that's interesting to watch. Not interesting, they're spreading awareness of what money is, why SLV, right, has no physical silver behind it, and what it means if people actually request delivery of that silver. So people out there are smart. They know how to beat them. Are they going to change the rules when they can't deliver on the silver? Yeah. What does that mean for the price of silver? And what does that mean for the price? Are we going to see the Hunt brothers when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the market? Except it's not going to be the Hunt brothers, but it's going to be just us. You know, and I'm sure I'm sure many of you already own physical silver. Many people watching this, if you own physical silver and haven't yet, hit that like button. Please go ahead and smash the like button. If you own the paper stuff, good, but not good because you're attracted to the markets. But it could be dangerous right over here to be owning something like SLV, right? How dangerous could it be? Well, you'll get paid the equivalent in dollars. So maybe to you, that's not that dangerous, right? Will there be a disconnect between the price of dollars and the physical stuff at the moment it breaks? Yeah. But yeah, maybe you're happy just with owning those dollars. But there are other people because of principles, kind of really want to own precious metals, what they believe is more fair and just. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? That's why people are into Bitcoin over there. People might get attracted to Bitcoin because of its price. They might get attracted, but once they learn about Bitcoin, once they learn why it's fair, once they will understand how it's clear, it's all coded into what it is. It's built off consensus. Bitcoin over since its existence has gone through many different tests. It always comes out stronger. The honey badger. I showed my daughter a video on YouTube. You could Google, search on YouTube honey badger escaping cage or something like that. It's got millions and millions of views, and you can watch how smart and cunning this honey badger is. Nothing could stop it. That's what Bitcoin is compared to. Jordan is on top. I originally had SLV, but switched to physical when he talked about the dangers. I mean, that's great you picked up on that because I've never even made a big thing of it. I've said it. We've talked about it. It feels like it's time to talk about it again because right now people are being. This video is titled Silver, right? People might be attracted to the market. If you have to be careful. You have to understand what it is and why you're investing. I've owned a physical silver for 12 years, right? If it spikes right now to $100, am I going to sell? Or am I going to keep holding that, realizing or believing that, there's a strong chance that one day, maybe it's 20 years from now, that silver, 1 ounce of silver could be worth $1,000. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's much sooner than that. I have no idea when it will be, right? But either way, you might want to own some. Same thing with gold. But mostly Bitcoin. Oh, it's Monday. It's Monday. 1,400 ounces of silver. I mean, it seems dizzying. I don't know. You might want to own some just in case. Like, if the war goes down, if the battle goes down, and really, we're able to squeeze them on silver, targeting silver, and people are targeting it, right? Is it going up to $50 today? No. It looked like it was going there anyway. By the way, solar panels are going to need a lot of silver. Looks like there's going to be a lot of solar panels being, built. So, and I want the Tesla. I would love one day. I think it'll be a long time before Tesla is able to actually install and service the Tesla solar panel roofs in Mexico. Because I hear that you can't get it done in certain parts of the United States, but that would be a dream. Maybe there's other alternatives. Either which way, it's real and it's real demand. It's real demand and it's coming. Bitcoin, it's real demand. It's real, like they can't be holding these dollars that are being deflated away. Are they going to take a silver position right now, these corporations? Or are they smart enough to understand that Bitcoin is better? And is that where they're going? And this is why, whether or not, this is a battlefield. Silver is a battlefield. It could become a big one. Maybe you want to be emotionally tied to it. Maybe you're taking a bigger position right now, right? Think about that. But understand why you're doing it. But this is going to be the war over here on Bitcoin. And I think by the time Bitcoin becomes a $10 trillion asset, I think it'll be too late. I don't think that they'll be able to stop it. I sincerely don't. You could stop MicroStrategy right now if MicroStrategy was the only public company to own this type of proportion of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, because then you could argue, well, what are they proposing as a public company? Because it wasn't to invest in Bitcoin, right? Or are you going to see ETFs start actually being approved, right? How long or when will that be? Eventually. You do have Grayscale presenting over here. That's an option that many of these public companies might decide is best for them. Maybe they're comfortable with these type of markets. Once they get over how to go ahead and articulate to the public and to their shareholders that they're going to be putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, how to actually go ahead and make that. I think Michael did a lot of his purchases through Binance. I really do. I don't have proof of that. He seemed very familiar with the platform when he talked about it. Paxos, by the way, is presenting. Jesse from Crack. It's beautiful to see. It's going to be massive. Bitcoin right now, I think, is going to be the trade this week. But technically, it needs to break out above here. It needs to break out above 35,000 to set that off. We had the breakout. This is the retest. We need to see the resumption. Could you argue that the resumption already started over here? Yes, at 33,000. Absolutely. Could you have taken the resumption over here at 34.5? Yes, absolutely. All good places. The risk on the downside remains. Could it be a 38% drawdown, taking us down towards 26,000? Yeah, that could happen. We could have a 38%. Is it looking like that's what's going to happen? Right? Does it look like that's what's going to? Not to me. We'll see. Be prepared for at least a 30% drawdown. Right now, I'd be prepared for a 38% drawdown, right? And could we see something ridiculous like a 42 or a 46%? I don't think so. I don't think that this week the markets crash. I don't think so. The markets, they don't seem too worried right now. If I were seeing, by the way, a massive move into the Japanese yen and the Swiss franc, and especially versus commodity currencies, well, then I would be really concerned. I would say, you know what? It looks like something is going on over here. So, looks like something I picked this up over here into February, during this past year in 2020. This is where I would be looking over here. The New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. This is exactly where I would be looking. The Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This is exactly where I would be looking. They all look pretty good and not showing any signs of technical breakdowns over here. So I'm not really too worried that the market is pricing in any type of risk, that the system is feeling any type of pain. I do see the dollar, bouncing here after this major breakout, bouncing over here, headed towards resistance. But do I think the market's concerned about that? As equity markets are up, as silver is up, gold is up, Bitcoin is up? No, I don't think anyone's concerned about this move in the dollar. Could it get bigger? Perhaps. We'll be there. We'll see. So have you talked about limited orders at the CME gap? Yeah, so that's the thing on the downside on Bitcoin. There are those that might be looking for something like 2350 on Bitcoin, which would close a gap below on the CME. But I've said before throughout this whole journey that CME gaps are not going to get closed, right? That CME gaps are not going to get closed, and do not use that as a strategy. And I firmly continue that. Is the last one going to be one of those gaps that doesn't get closed? Probably. It's looking to me like it's not going to get closed. So, and that won't be the last one. So careful on that. Will those get closed on the way down in the bear market? I doubt we trade anything this low in the coming bear market. I doubt we trade anything low in this coming bear market. So, thank you, Mono 3 Life. Thank you for all the comments throughout the journey that you share, for the support. Grateful for it. Feel like so many friendships are built here, and each one of you I consider more than a friend. Really, this is definitely family over here. So big shout out to all of you. I wish I could oh, smash the like button for you, but it's like one for all. You're doing it for me, and I feel like it's for all of us, and right back at you. No, no, I'm not. I'm not holding any Ethereum. Do I think Ethereum outperformed? Yep. It was inevitable. Silver. Memes, by the way, rule the world. Oh, there was one I wanted to share with you. I didn't have time to pull it up, huh? Oh. Oh, I tweeted about it. I think I tweeted about it. Uh, my wife thought I was crazy. I thought it was amazing. Let me see. Let's try tweets and replies. Some right over here is. Sorry, I shouldn't be showing. I'm sorry about that. There's a locked account on Twitter. That means it's private. I don't want to share anything that they're sharing. I'll pull that up definitely and share it with you a different way. It's a beautiful, beautiful meme about what's happening right now, including Michael Saylor, including Elon Musk, Janet Yellen. We had the GameStop boys in there, AMC, everything, the silver, everything showing the battle that's going on over there. And it's just, my wife was like, what are you watching? And I was like, this is the best meme ever. And memes are definitely what over here are how we communicate, and that's the beauty of the internet. Yeah, memes. People, sorry about that. It is pronounced meme. I don't know why I say meme. Excuse me. Meme. Um, the battle is into the equities. Equities are not exciting. Equities are not exciting. Now, going back, if there was a problem, and it's true, going back over here into February of 2020, it's all on the videos. It's all on the YouTube videos over here. It's in the also. By the way, there's 30 videos or 30 days worth of videos on lbry.com on the Conquer Trading and Investing channel. I have to make those available. They are absolute. I think it's anyway. Have to make it available over here. But as the markets were crashing over here in starting in February and into March, this is exactly the only place that I was. Right, that and other the New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, Swiss franc, and Japanese yen trades I was pointing out to you. Those are the places I was involved in. And if this were to happen, those are the places I'll be involved in again, right? Those are the places I'll be involved in again. But that's not happening right now. That's not happening at all. There's no, anyway, if it does, I'll let you know, or I'll be doing my best to be on the right side of that, but not happening. In the Head Snack song video that he shared with us, absolutely love that. He talks about the markets are not crashing. That's one of the lines he uses. That's one of the memes. The memes for conquering the market that he uses. The markets are not crashing. If they're crashing, I'll let you know, and we'll be there and we'll be attacking. Right? They're not crashing. Yeah, the DXY could go absolutely, definitely continue to consolidate over there. Brett's the best. Loved the soundtrack. I have to link that. We have to play that on Friday over here. But we could see not only the DXY consolidate, we can see equity markets consolidate over here. That's what it looks like what's happening. And they seem to be carving out a range over here. And something like this pattern might be put in, something similar to this type of big range in the S&P 500 would be perfectly normal right now. Coming out of February, I mean, it is just February. We could see a big month. It could be explosive. I don't know how many tops have been put in February. I would have to go back and look at that to have any type of idea. But it's not something instinctively that's in my mind as being anything to be concerned about. So I'm not. Nasdaq, let's check it out. So it doesn't look good. We could see some further downside pressure. It looks like that both of them are trying to hold, right? But if we see a resumption down, that could be that, and that might be the last wave down. But it could be a big one down towards this support over here. at 12,443. Or do they hold the resistance and get back into the channel now? It's not just the Nasdaq. Oh, S&P's having trouble. The mixed signals, unattractive, but still have that clean awareness of what's going on, following them. But do they deserve more than maybe 5 minutes of our time? No, that's about what we've given them. Thanks, Andy. But people get really upset about that one. It's time that I made the conscious decision to fix that. Yeah, I'm the worst. I can't remember the name of a restaurant. It's just always the way I've been. Hey man, he's gonna get it right. He's gonna get it eventually. He's gonna get it eventually. Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I like to think about, the analogy of the war that's going on. That's why that meme is so great. It's this gigantic war. I really wish I could. I got to share it with you. I cannot not share it with you. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna find it so that we could share it, because it's worthy. It's worthy and it's fun, and I get to dork out together with you all. That's why. It's on YouTube, so I can just pull up the YouTube link. There we go. There we go. I hope, yeah, here we go. Boom. By the way, the link, I just put the link down below in the description. And anyone who wants to share this, it's titled Wall Street Bets. And it's below. Ryan Ross, he's only got 93 subscribers. This meme is being shared here. If you want to share it with other people, great one to watch. We're going to finish it here, though, together. All right? So here comes the silver. Here comes the silver right now. Just another battle. It's a small little battle. Is it going to anything that's going to take down Janet Yellen here? Should that be Janet Yellen or should that be Jerome Powell? Right? Who's got more power? Who's on the inside right now? Janet Yellen, U.S. Treasury Secretary, refusing to discuss or advise the president on financial matters, and the reason being is because, well, Citadel was just paid her $800,000. So there we are. Let's see. Elon Musk's, it was inevitable. Looking back, it was inevitable. Is Elon coming this week? Well, watch what happens with Elon over here. Let's keep going. Absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. And it's all about Bitcoin. And it's all about Bitcoin, the most important trade, the only trade that matters. In my opinion, it's always been Bitcoin lightly leveraged to know and understand the risks, because they are great. And you could, if you don't know what you're doing trading Bitcoin unleveraged, you could lose all of your Bitcoin. The idea is to gain Bitcoin right now in this whole battle is about Bitcoin, right? There we are. What a beautiful way to spend Monday morning. I'm sure people out there are really confused about the markets. I'm sure there are a lot of people just like talking heads today, giving you their insight to what happened in the markets. I can't imagine any of theirs is remotely close to ours. I can't imagine that. And that's where we are. And that's what we do together. So I'm grateful for it. I thank each and every one of you. And listen, I'll see you all later in the afternoon. And we're going to go out with some music over here. All right, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I'll talk to you later.